There's three ways that most people build their wealth: the stock market, real estate, and businesses. And a lot of wealthy people have one of those or maybe multiple of those. What I have done, I have set myself up with success from the beginning by emulating exactly that blueprint. And it's not a secret as to why I became wealthy. This is exactly the reason. It's because of the stock market, real estate, and my business. There is no secret as to why I got wealthy. And this is exactly what you can apply to your situation very easily. So today I'm going to introduce how I got into real estate and why 2023, that was a big initiative for me. So pre-2023, if you've been following me for a while, you know I've owned stocks, and you also know I run my own business. And obviously I do have some real estate with my personal residence, but not as an investment. So 2023, I wanted to dive into the real estate game. However, if you know me, I'm very busy running my own business and I have a family, and I don't really like real estate, quite honestly. But I understand the benefits from a wealth building perspective, so I knew I needed to get into it ASAP. But I was trying to figure out my way and figure out what made most sense to get into. So I came across what's called a multifamily syndication, and I'm going to break that down today. I'm going to break down specifically the second deal of 2023 that I got in and show you exactly why I got into that. So a multifamily syndication is simply a real estate deal where multiple investors have pooled money in there for one property. And you have a sponsor or somebody that's leading the deal, essentially taking the money from those investors to then spot a good opportunity in the market. And so through building connections through Budgetdog Academy, I came across a very good sponsor. And that's the benefit of being well connected and being an integrator, is that you have access to different opportunities. And when you're in my circle of influence, you're gonna have opportunities. And not to insult anybody's intelligence here, but let's break down what multifamily means and what also syndication means. The syndication is just the investment that's pooled from multiple investors. So that's the money that's going to, let's call it a bucket for a bigger property. And then you have the multifamily, which is simply multiple families living within a, let's call it an apartment complex. So the sponsor, my connection, was able to spot a very good opportunity in Dallas, Texas for one of these multifamily properties. And I actually walked through this property and I actually toured this property, and you can see some pictures on the screen right now. But walking and touring this property does not mean that it's a good investment. I had to do a little bit more deep research, and therefore this is what I came across. So before we even get into the property, I want to break down the pros and cons of a multifamily syndication and why for me it made a lot of sense. And even before we cover the pros and cons, we have to cover the concept of what's called an accredited investor. This gave me the opportunity to have access to this deal. So what is an accredited investor and how do you actually qualify? So I'm going to save you some time, and I'm going to put a graphic on the screen that covers how you become an accredited investor. And so as you hit the status, you then have access to more deals. And not all of those deals are perfect or awesome. Some are great, some are bad, but it does give you access to more of the marketplace, which is always a cool thing. So let's hop into the pros of multifamily investing. You have all of the regular benefits of real estate: the passive income, the cash flow, the pass-through losses to investors, the ability to defer capital gains, and also the depreciation benefits. It's pretty hard to beat the benefits of real estate. However, at the same time, you have hands-off treatment. So therefore, I'm not actually involved in doing anything with this property. The only thing that's required from me is to put my capital forth, to then believe in the sponsor and have that trust with the sponsor that they're gonna do the right thing and they're gonna be able to control that money and ultimately make a good investment. One of the other pros is that the risk is actually between multiple different investors. So you're not taking on 100% of the risk. You're putting your money forth in a pool of additional money that other investors are as well. So there's multiple people into this deal, which gives you some flexibility from a loss standpoint. And another benefit is you can control multiple projects at one time. You can control more units, and you can achieve economies of scale at a lot easier rate than if you were to get a single family residence or another type of real estate, because all you're doing is putting capital forth through a sponsor that would then go assess and find good deals for you. So as long as you find a good sponsor, it's a pretty good setup. And of course, you're not limited to one sponsor. Now, the cons of this are kind of the reverse angle. So you don't have all of the ownership. So there is a lack of control, and your trust is in the sponsor. So as long as you believe in the sponsor, you should be fine, but that's a big deal. And although you get the benefits of regular real estate, like the quarterly checks that are sent to you, the biggest payout of the syndication is at the very end when they sell the property. After all the value adds they have to the property, they upsell it, fix it up essentially, sell it, and then all the profit comes back to the investors. That's when you make your biggest bang for your buck. And that's traditionally anywhere from 3 to 5 to 7 years, but every property is going to be a little different. So let's break down my specific deal, at least as much as I can share. So I can't actually list the name specifically, but this was actually a multifamily unit in Dallas, Texas worth $17.8 million. The sponsor saw a massive opportunity in this market with comparables around the local area, and they knew there was a strong value add opportunity. But of course, every single deal sees that usually. And that's the goal of the sponsor, is to spot these opportunities in the market and then decide based on that which property to actually buy. The projected average annual return, and I say average annual return, is about 29%. And this sponsor has a history of being very conservative, and they're very conservative with this estimate as well. And the average purchase price per unit is $86,000, and the comparable comparables in the local market are about $95,500. So that's a significant discount, and the purchase price discount is about 10% below market. Not to mention, this specific property is in a prime location in Dallas, and it is a booming economy. And this projected hold time is 3 years. Not to mention, current occupancy is at 97% and projected to go to 99%. And one of the most important things of this deal is the financing. And they secured a debt product below 6% in a fixed rate. And in this economy, you cannot complain about that. And as you know, I mentioned they're conservative, and they're projecting a 3 to 3.5% rent growth each and every year. But the market in Dallas, where they're located, is actually double that. So if that plays out to be true, this will be a better return. And insurance in Texas is extremely expensive, and they secure this at $850 a unit. And that was a huge adjustment when I moved from Kentucky to Texas. The taxes and insurance here are substantially higher than most places in the United States. Not to mention, as you saw in the pictures, the value adds aren't there, and they see a massive opportunity to add a ton of value to this property. And so after assessing this deal and also looking at the comparable numbers as well, this was a home run for me. And of course, there's always risk to any investment deal out there, but multifamily syndications are something that got me very intrigued when I started to learn about them and hopped into the real estate market. Obviously, the deal itself is very important, but it's hard to say this is a bad opportunity when you're just putting your capital forth, but you get all the additional real estate benefits on top of it. This is a real estate deal, dream come true for me personally. As somebody that's a business owner and very busy with family, I don't want to go out and deal with tenants and toilets, and so that's not going to be my route with real estate, but I also want the real estate exposure. And I know to become wealthy and to stay wealthy, you need to own assets, and there's no secret that the stock market, real estate, and businesses are the way to go. So that's exactly the blueprint I'm following, and that's why we become wealthy, because it's actually not as hard as people think, and as long as you follow the blueprint and follow smart people that have done it, you're going to do the same. So I hope that breaks down what multifamily syndications are, why I got into real estate in 2023, why I'm going to continue to do this as well, and also how to get wealthy. I will see you guys next Monday.